Hey Gearheads, and welcome to GT Garage Talk, a discussion about all things automotive. I am your host, Corey, and I am just beyond excited to share just another great episode with you. This one was an interview focusing on a rather historic event that happened very recently in Saudi Arabia, and that is the Rally Jameel. It is an all-women's rally held in the nation of Saudi Arabia, which we will get into the details later, but if you know anything about the situation, was epic unto itself. Add on top of it the rally aspect, and it was just an amazing event that I wish I could have been there to capture, to report on. But getting to speak with today's guests is the next best thing. So joining me today, I have Lynn Woodward and Sedona Blinson joining me. They were a driver and co-pilot navigational assistant team together this year on the inaugural Rally Jameel in Saudi Arabia. Well, Sedona and Lynn, so awesome to have you here virtually with me on the podcast.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Yes, I am very excited. So you and we all have a mutual connection in the wonderful, the awesome, the legendary Sue Mead, who has been along the ride with y'all on the Rally Jameel in Saudi Arabia, doing press and covering the event. But before we get into all of the nitty-gritty of the rally itself, I want to kind of get into a little bit of who y'all are, and we'll dig into that. So, Lynn, why don't we start with you? Can you share a little bit of your background with the audience?
Yeah, you got it. My name is Lynn Woodward, and my day job is as an automotive reviewer for Kelley Blue Book. I am honored to be able to do video reviews for them, so you can find me on the KBB YouTube channel, as well as on the KBB Instagram and TikTok channels. I work with a great team, and it's wonderful to be able to talk about new sheet metal. I love that I get to review cars and help consumers with what I think is a very intimidating, especially these days, and very expensive purchase. So that's kind of what I do for my day job, but I'm also just a writer in general. I've written a couple of screenplays. I have a couple of movies that I'm currently shopping around right now. Couple that are completely uncar related, so it's that's marvelous as well. And I also have the high honor and joy of being a rally driver for Team Wild Grace with my amazing co-driver navigator Sedona Blinson. And so it's a full life, but it's a very rewarding and fulfilling life. And it's wonderful. I feel very blessed.
Yes, I was mentioning before we started recording, I've been watching you on the KBB YouTube for years now, and the team out there puts out great work. Y'all have been inspirations to me in my journey, so that is awesome and very exciting that you're working on some extracurricular outside of the automotive. I look forward to
spare time.
Yes, I look forward to seeing the fruit of that. So,
yeah, no, it's great. I'm one of those people who this is not a first career for me. This is probably more like a third career for me. So if you're interested in something and you're a little later on in life, don't be afraid to go for it and try and because it's worked for me. And even if I still do things that are kind of hobbies, I still get to say that I do stuff that I love. So it's been a really fulfilling life. And I feel like I'm kind of firing on all cylinders right now. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's, like I said, very inspiring words. I've done similar things. I quit my corporate job after 12 years to pursue automotive. So you can never be locked into something. You never have to be locked into something if you don't want to be.
Do something you love. You'll never work a day in your life.
Wholeheartedly agree. And what a nice segue into Sedona and joining us today. Sedona, hello.
Hi, my name is Sedona Blinson, and I am a mom of two very adventurous, busy boys and a wife. And I kind of broke into this automotive world rally off-road navigation situation about 7 years ago when I started doing the Rebelle.
Okay.
So it was not, like Lynn said, it's not always the first thing. And I didn't know that this would be the trajectory of my life since, but it led me to do something incredible and go to Saudi Arabia and compete internationally. So I, as a day job situation, I am a writer, a social media manager. And I get to do that with my husband, and we do that together at home. So
Awesome.
that has been a change in our life too in the last year, and it's been really interesting to kind of switch it up and get to work alongside my favorite person in the whole wide world. And
Wait a second, that's not me. I'm just kidding.
And then as an extracurricular, I do get to be with Lynn quite often, and I love that too. So I started doing rally driving and navigating because I was trying to find myself as a separate entity from being a mom and a wife. And I really am really excited to get to do that alongside Lynn and the incredible women that we went to Saudi with. It's just a very bright way to look at the world.
It absolutely is. You two ladies are not the first rally drivers I've interviewed. I've spoken with a Dakar rally participant in Amy Lerner. And then I've had numerous conversations with fellow Rebelle Rally participants as well. So it makes me very jealous. I will just throw that out there right now. The stories that we've gotten to share from Mercedes Lilienthal and their VW EV doing the Rebelle, and just the craziness that came in addition to the challenge of the Rebelle with that has been just incredibly awesome to hear. And I'm over here like, okay, well, I want to do something cool like that. So I've got my feelers out and my ears open. I'm listening for fun activities for me out there. But what we came here today to speak about is y'all recently participated in the Rally Jameel in Saudi Arabia, which was an all-women's rally, which in and of itself, given the location, is quite an astounding feat, correct?
Yeah, so the women of Saudi just were able to receive licenses in 2018. So just the fact that that was just a few short years ago, and now they are competing in off-road rallies is monumental. It's really incredible to be a part of that historical moment.
So yeah, not only just historical in that 4 years ago being able to drive, but to have an exclusive all women's event and to have women from all over the globe come and participate. The two of you were part of how many Americans in this event? I know Emmy Hall was on one of the other teams.
Yeah, there were three American teams who went over: Emmy Hall and Rebecca Donaghy, as well as Dana and Susie Saxton. They're a mother-daughter team. Normally in the Rebelle, they pair up with other people, but this was the first time that they teamed up together. Dana just happened to be the oldest competitor in the group, and I think was a really great example for all of those women to see that, limitations are only the things that you put on yourself. And for us, it was a very important moment to be a part of. Certainly, it was a high honor for us to go and not only to support these women, but to represent our country in Saudi Arabia. And it was interesting because you go in with expectations because of whatever you read in the news or whatever other people tell you. And I think our experience was very, very different from what we both expected.
Right. Travel has a way of kind of opening your eyes and allowing you to see and experience things that you've previously have to live through other people's lenses. And my wife is in the tourism industry, so she is always in my ear about travel and just experiencing the world around us. So yeah, Uh, I was watching the promotion video that Sue had sent me, and just seeing all the stunning sights and everything that y'all were able to experience while participating in this rally was absolutely amazing unto itself. Add on the layer of the people and just the culture that you've been immersed in is quite astounding.
I think often women are kind of underestimated too. I mean, I think that, to Sedona's point, that these women just, barely just got driver's license. I mean, some of them literally got their driver's license like the week before the rally. So, but we found so many of them to be just like so excited and so open and wanted to hear, what do we do about this? And how is, how do I find that, when I'm stuck, how do I get out of that? Or if I can't find my way, like navigationally, what can I do to sort of help get myself sort of oriented and situated? And, that was such a joy for us because our initial intention was just, hey, listen, we want to go support these ladies. Like,
Right.
This is amazing.
So this rally, much like the Dakar, much like the Rebelle, is a navigational rally, correct? That is not a race. So many people think, okay, we're in this to be there first, but you have certain waypoints that you have to meet and find using old school navigation methods and navigating without GPS, basically, correct?
For the Rally Jamil, their format was much like the Dakar.
Okay.
So it was a road book. It wasn't map and compass navigation. It was a road book, and we had a rally computer that was GPS.
Okay.
So it's a little bit different than what we do here at the Rebelle. So they kind of tell you how to go about, and the waypoints open up, and then you have to go and try and find them per the rally computer. So it's a little bit different, but like you said, not a race. And right. I think omitting that part of rally driving allows women that have hardly driven off-road or want to take the car that's in their driveway, it gives them that opportunity while still being safe and adventurous. And that's it. You can tell that happened because the women that had never done it before or had never driven had that chance to do that and try their hand at it.
Yeah, you could drive a stock vehicle. When you eliminate speed, a stock vehicle becomes a viable option. Otherwise, you need a roll cage, you need, a 6-point harness, you need a Hans, you need all these other safety equipment, and it limits. It's just not as open to a broader reach of competitor, and that was really the Jamil's focus. So it is a little bit of a hybrid situation where you have part of the Dakar sort of navigation, but then you eliminate by and large the speed. And so, but I think as a first year format, I think it was very effective. And I still think it was plenty challenging for a lot of those teams out there, including us.
Right. Sure. So there was a speed element in that there was a speed limit. Again, kind of forcing you to...
for some competitors who are used to speed, I tell you.
Yeah, so you had certain average times that you're trying to hit, but definitely had a speed limit, again, for protection's sake, for opening up the playing field, and, a different challenge in a completely different way.
Yeah. So on the date, other than on tarmac, our speed limit was 70 kilometers an hour. And then Lynn, off the top of your head, what were the average speeds?
So our average speeds, we had 4 average speed challenges that were interspersed across the 3 days. The first day, the average speed challenge was 38 kilometers an hour, which is about 23 miles an hour. The second day, the average speed was 43 kilometers an hour. We had 2 separate challenges in that day. And the final day was 49 kilometers an hour. So these are not high speeds, right. But when you remember that, you're driving on sand highways, through dunes, and you're kind of navigating hairpin turns, and you're on gravel roads that are that have ditches in them and whoops in them, or you're going up steep inclines and then coming down, like being able to really to exercise throttle control and car control is super difficult. I would venture to say maybe as hard, if not harder, to drive at a slow speed and maintain that average, over 10, 20, 25 kilometers, 30 kilometers, whatever it was that they asked us to do, is just as stressful.
Right.
Just in a different way.
Yeah. So Sedona, your job was the navigational side of things, keeping Lynn on track. And I guess you also had to help maintain or help her figure out those average speeds and making sure she was sticking to those challenges, correct?
Yeah. So yes, I am the navigator. So I get the road book and I get to keep us on track. And this was a fun new challenge for me. Strictly doing road book. It was fun. The pace was really fun. Like, I know that we keep talking about how we're not speeding, but in other navigation rallies, and we get out and we look and we pause, like that's not the case with the Rally Jamil. We got to sit in there and kind of keep pace and keep on track. And as far as the average speed, like we do a little bit of calculations. Lynn actually does the math so she can have a visual of like, this is the timing of what we need to be at for this. But a lot of that for this format, just because of how they score it, it was a lot of Lynn's throttle control more than me being like, you're going too fast, you're going too slow, you're going too fast. Because it's not super helpful. Right. Like it just, and it has to fluctuate like over and over. Some of the newer girls who had never understood the average speed sections were like, but you can't, like you can't maintain 48 while you're taking a turn.
Right.
Like you can't. So, they have to understand how to average that out and how to go a little above and a little below and how that shifts. And a lot of that plays for sure on the driver. And the navigation was challenging in a different way because some of those waypoints or those turns are coming up quick anyway. And I have to just be ahead of the game on the road book and make sure that we're still on the right track. Because when you get into open desert, there could be 2 tracks that are generally the same direction. And so just making sure we're kind of keeping the same path.
And you had 50 different waypoints that you had to track down?
In 140
total.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. So
50 per day.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Going through some notes that I've got here, and helps if I read the whole paragraph.
No, that makes sense.
And honestly, like the rules, it's interesting because again, this is a first year, this was a first year event. The rules sort of, as they kind of figured things out, like fluctuated a little bit. So there were definite adjustments to our rule book, even right up till, the first drivers meeting, the night before stage 1.
Yeah. So that kind of leads us into the vehicle and that aspect. Lynn, I'm going to ask you, what were you driving?
We named our car the Pig. Well, I named my car our car the Pig. It was a car that we do not have available here in the United States. So it was a 2021 or 2022 Toyota Fortuner, which I've never even heard of before, and I review cars for a living. So the Fortuner is basically, it's an SUV, but it's body on frame. So it's built on a Toyota Hilux chassis. And it is a 4x4 vehicle, so it has it had a transfer case and a low gear. We never used that. We never did any driving that was that made that necessary. So we were in all-wheel drive the entire time. We had I think it has a 2.6 liter 4-cylinder in it.
Okay.
That probably made about 100 high 160s horsepower. So, the pig struggled a little bit. It had that marvelous Toyota, let's call it a vintage Toyota 6-speed automatic transmission. which is bulletproof, right? I mean, that's the transmission you want if you're going to drive your car for 30 years.
Right.
But it's, the gearing was at least long. I could happily sit in like second or third pretty much the entire time. And just kind of live in that space, like revving fairly high for more technical stuff. We did air down at one point the last day when we were sort of driving in some softer, slightly bigger sand dunes. But, listen, overall, it's a Toyota product. It's pretty game for whatever you're willing to throw at it. There was one time where I was like, wonder if I'm going to like have any risk of burning up the transmission here. And I was like, nah, probably not. So it was great. I mean, those are the kind of vehicles that are built for that environment. You see them everywhere out in Saudi. So you know that you could just probably beat the snot out of it and it would do just fine. And it was great for us. It ended up being, a fun little vehicle. I actually loved how it looked.
Yeah.
Sedona and I thought it had great stance. And I was like, oh, you slap some KO2s on that, maybe give it a little bit of a lift. That thing looks pretty good.
It was definitely fun to you stood back and you're like, I think that's totally going to be able to handle the terrain. It's fine. And being in it, I think this bigger struggle was having to try and go like 140 kilometers an hour in it, which is like 87. It just didn't love being like so high. I would have liked 65.
It had a limiter. Corey had a limiter on it at 120 kilometers an hour, and it didn't limit the speed, but it definitely like beeped at you.
Yeah.
It was like, you've exceeded 120 kilometers, which it's just like, oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, Toyotas beep at pretty much everything. I'm driving a 22 Highlander at the moment that was dropped off, and yeah, Toyotas just beep. You get used to it.
I love it. Yes, they're beepy.
Yeah, but
But the pig prevailed.
The pig prevailed. I'm looking at pictures of it now. It's got a nice stance to it. I saw there were some of the new overseas only Toyota Land Cruisers out there. I was kind of hoping that maybe y'all got into one of those, but
we did not get into one of those. But you know what? Those things are sort of go anywhere, do anything vehicles. We love those. That just has a stout V8 in there that just can absolutely just rip over anything. But no, we were actually hoping that our Fortuner was going to be a V6. We were told it was a V6, but that did not happen. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was like from a rental car fleet.
Oh, well.
And that's that. And we had just like regular, just the stock AT tires on there. They were, oh my gosh, who made the tire? They were not good. They were not good. They were just very Dunlop. They were Dunlop tires.
Oh my God.
Very little, like super little tread, no shoulder on the sidewall. I mean, but listen, it wasn't, the driving wasn't so aggressive that we needed more car than what we had.
Right.
I mean, shoot, the woman who won it in a RAV4 on summer tires. So she's a stud.
Yeah, it just goes to speak to, again, kind of the level setting of the playing field for this entire event, being that it's waypoint based and speed is kind of working against you in some aspects. So while the pig may have struggled on the higher speed segments, I'm sure it fared quite well during all the treacherous stuff.
Yeah. Grunty and very more than adequate.
Any just outstanding memories that you would take from this, whether it would be a particularly tough segment or just all out crazy? I can't believe this happened. If I wrote it in a movie, nobody would believe it.
Donut, you go first.
There are two moments. But one is when we were driving. So we had on the day 3, we had our last average speed section. I think rallies like this, if you've never done them before, and if they're new, like by day 3, you're finally getting in your stride. It takes a minute to really get in that. But right out off the start line was our average speed section. And anyone that knows Lynn and I, like, we talk to each other a lot. We chat to each other, and in other time speed sections of other rallies, we talk a lot because Lynn wants all the information and we're just like shouting out the things. And we were on this side path of these big dunes. And it was kind of like a paved sand highway situation. It was like primitively paved, I should say. It wasn't like a super smooth thing. And it was super hilly, and we were dead quiet for maybe 17 minutes. I had never been that quiet in the car with Lynn trying to navigate. And it was this weird position of being like, I have a moment to kind of look at these beautiful sand dunes that are like terracotta and fascinating, and seeing like camels. But also I'm competing like I'm supposed to be like focused on this. And that was a really out of body experience for me, because I've spent so much time in the car with Lynn, and just to see how she was so focused on keeping that throttle control and taking that challenge very, very much on herself, for sure. And she did not need my navigation expertise at that moment. And so I was trying to find that balance. And that was a big moment competing for me and as teammates, to see us in that different position. And I kind of loved it. It was fun to watch. I love watching Lynn in her element. And then the other moment.
That was the moment, I'll just interject, but that was the moment that I think that really pushed us over the edge. It was one of those Zen moments where if you've ever had a driving experience or something where you are in a team situation like that, where you just become one with your vehicle, and the vehicle becomes an extension of you. It's what I chase as a driver. That those moments don't come often. Right. And you just sort of, it is definitely an out of body experience, but it was that average speed challenge that pushed us over the edge. We ended up winning stage 3 overall, and it pushed us above the rest of the American teams. So we finished first of the American teams, and it was because of that 17 minutes.
Nice.
And we came out of that section, and you just knew that was right. However that played out in the scoring, it's not an issue, but like just knowing like, oh, we did that right. So it was kind of a great way to start day 3. I think the other moment I had was watching the team that plays second. So we had met them at the beginning of the competition. We had like a little kind of meet and greet with a few of the teams, which is the whole reason we wanted to go over there. While we love competing, we really wanted to lift the women over there and experience this international rally for ourselves on a personal level, not just on a competitive level. So we met this team, and there was one, the driver was from UAE, and the other one was from the US, but lived in Riyadh in Saudi. And watching them compete for the 3 days was an awesome experience, because they had never competed in a rally. She was a stay-at-home mom and an engineer. And just watching them get in their groove and really take on the challenge was amazing. That's what I did 7 years ago, and just seeing that come to fruition for other people was probably one of my favorite things to walk away with. And that was with many teams, but watching them compete hard and place second, I think overall that stood out for me.
Yeah. That's awesome. Lynn, what about for you? It looks like you're cooking up something good over there.
Listen, for me, I would definitely like echo what Sedona just said. Those moments were definitely standout moments. I think during the ceremonial start, we had a moment up on this stage. All the competitors drove up on stage, and we kind of got out of the car, and Hassan Jamil, they had the sort of the Saudi flag that was sort of the ceremonial green flag kind of come out, and you sort of saw the sea of media, photographers taking pictures. And that was really the first time that I connected that I was there as a representative of the United States. I love my country very much. I'm very proud to be here. I know I'm very fortunate to be here, especially when I travel and I see other countries. And we're not perfect by any means. Nobody is. There's no such thing as perfect. But boy, it was just this like this swell of emotion and of pride, to be from the U.S. And we had our flag on our, on the side of our cars with our names. And every time we met Saudi nationals, and we went around quite a bit just out and around town, going to their version of Walmart, and people would come up to us and ask us, oh, where are you from? And we would say, we're from America. And their faces just lit up. And it was wonderful to see, because I think so often we hear how there's so much friction and there's so much, animosity, but I think people are not their governments. And
Right.
I think for the most part, like, there was such joy, and women that we saw driving just on the highway would pull out their phones and take pictures of us and do TikToks and Snapchats of us. And the reception and how we were received there was something that was beyond my expectation, and was a very profound moment for me. So yeah, it was very unexpected, very special.
Yeah, and just going back to the fact that you were in a country that had only previously 4 years prior given that opportunity to the women, so that is awesome.
And even for the rest of the people there, tourism is a very, very new is a new concept to them. Right. They were a very closed off country before, and these people will literally, we would fill up with gas, and people would come up to the windows and say, "Please come to my house and have eat, have a meal with me." And it was just this open. I mean, if you tell somebody, "Oh, I like your watch," they will literally take it off their wrist and give it to you. And it's just, that's this sort of this generosity, this openness, this like almost this hunger for community and for global community, and that touch point to what is outside and beyond. And being a part of that, being able to see that, was beyond what any competitive experience in a rally could bring to us.
And that just kind of goes back to what we were talking about, travel and the enlightenment that it affords you to be able to see different parts of the world through your own lens instead of what's being portrayed for you or delivered to you through whatever media. So yeah, that sounds like a truly awesome experience, just to revel in and make sure that you keep it locked in for the rest of your life. I believe we spoke a little bit about how you placed and finished versus the other Americans. How did y'all do overall?
We placed 5th overall. So we had one day where we won the stage, the day. Right. And then so that put us at 5th out of 35 teams.
I think there were 34 teams. Yeah. We had, this was a new format for us, and so there were some technical things on the first day, time cards, that and sort of like time control issues that we had on the course. We actually did very well. Both on the select section, which is basically the off-road section, and on our average speed. But those time, just those time snafus that we had, unfortunately penalized us a little bit. Otherwise, we definitely would have made the podium. But you know what? I think in the grand scheme of things, we thought that it was an appropriate finish. I love that a pro rally team, and Annie Seal and Michaela, from Sweden, that they took the podium. And more interestingly enough for both Sedona and I, because we kind of became friends with them, is Atifa Sela and Eleanor Coker both came in second, and I think they were as shocked as anybody, and just so happy to have achieved that. And to be able to watch them achieve that was more special than us being on any podium.
Yep. Well, I would like to congratulate y'all on your finish and doing very well. You said 5th out of 30 plus participants. So that's amazing in and of itself. A new format, a new race rally altogether. So it is very commendable, very exciting. It sounds like the memories are the most important thing that y'all are taking home from this event for sure.
We also will say one of our more like fun moments that we can say is we actually helped recover and dig out the winning team out of the sand with our Max truck. So they're welcome.
You got that far because of us.
That's right. You're welcome.
It's all about teamwork.
For us, that's what it's all about. It's not just about, part of our competition is helping other people out on the course.
Right. And y'all have said it since we got on this call. You truly wanted to lift up the women of Saudi and surrounding areas and just be a part, a spotlight, a trumpet to the world of what these women are capable of and able to accomplish. So,
and I think there was part of it too that Emily Miller was there, and Emily is the founder and the director of the Rebelle Rally, and I think all of us, she is a very big example of how we want to sort of position ourselves and be ourselves in the world, not just in the rally world, but as human beings, as our fellow man. And so really it was important for us to represent to show how she would want us to compete. Plus, like, we're all terrified of her secretly. But we respect the heck out of her, and she's just this amazing, formidable woman. And so, you really look up to those role models and you try and emulate them. And we know that that's what she would have done. And so that's how we rally.
Right. Well, speaking of the Rebelle, do y'all have any current plans set in place? Anything finalized for future events?
Oh, well, we are in the works of it had taken us a minute to recover from the last one.
That's a minute.
So I have competed in all 6 years of the Rebelle.
Nice.
And after this one, both Lynn and I were like, whew, we're a little tired. Anyone that knows about the Rebelle, it's 8 days of competition, but it's really 2 weeks off of your day-to-day just to get through it. And we have just come about to wanting to compete again and deciding that we would like to go one more time and see how this plays out for us. We will never be able to shake the Rebelle in all actuality. Like, that we will always be doing something that comes with it, whether we're
at some point I might be able to. But not yet.
Not quite yet. Well, and it's one of those things where, like she said, where you've become close to Emily and that you kind of go, well, I guess I'm going to help you out with media or whatever we decide we'd like to help with. But so we will be competing again this year. We're just not sure with how that's going to play out with what we'll be driving and things like that. So
when we're ready, we'll definitely make an announcement.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to hearing something about what your future plans are and how it all comes to be, what you'll be driving, and just looking forward to that. I mentioned before we've interviewed Mason Converse and Aaron Mason. We've
nice. Those are amazing ladies.
Yeah, Emily and Mercedes from their team. So we've had just tons of contact with the Rebelle and are looking forward to another year of that. Sedona, you did come up as being a participant in all the years in our previous conversation. So I will link those certain episodes in the show notes for anyone listening to this and want to go back and hear those conversations, because again, they are great. Mercedes, like I said, was driving an electric vehicle in the Rebelle Rally last year. So just an added layer.
An electric vehicle with very, very limited ground clearance.
Yes.
She did a great job just getting to the finish line in that thing. I tip my hat to Mercedes, 100%.
Yes. And just a blast of a conversation with them as well.
Yes.
So from there, I'm going to pivot to close out this interview on a fun note, on more of a uh, maybe a lightning round type of question. I've got a set of 8 different questions in a segment we call Random Misfire, where I will shoot out this or that, yes or no kind of questions. There's no wrong answer, so don't feel like you've got any score here or anything to keep, but just help get our audience and myself acclimated with who you are and be encouraged to follow you along your future stories. So if y'all are ready, I'll let y'all figure out who answers first, but we will shoot through this. I feel like I've already got the answer to this one. I ask it every single time. I've got a list of more than 8, but this is the one I always ask. Do you name your vehicles? I know you named the pig, but...
The pig, Bruce, Scarlet, and what was the Armada?
McGregor.
McGregor.
So yes, all of them.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, especially going through what you go through with the vehicles, you really, like you said, Lynn, earlier, they become an extension of you. You really get to know their personality and how they behave and react. Mm-hmm. So it's only natural.
They're a third teammate. You have to make sure that they're truly part of the team.
Right,
so.
Right.
Absolutely.
While I did preface this with there not being any wrong answers, that's the only one I secretly hold that there is a wrong answer to. And y'all both got it correct. So
I name all my personal cars too.
Same.
Yes. Let's see. This will be a good one. Do you prefer 2 wheels or 4?
Oh, 4, 100%.
Yeah.
2 wheels. 2 wheels is too few.
I need to make that into a t-shirt. I never got into the whole motorcycle thing. I've been told once you dip your toe in, you'll be hooked, but
I'm still shaky on a bicycle, so
I had a good friend die on a motorcycle when I was 17, and that ever since then.
Yep.
No. Game over.
Let's see here. I've got to ask, especially of you, Lynn, because I know you've driven both. I've seen you drive both. Are you Team Wrangler or Team Bronco?
Oh my God. Oh God, terrible question.
I will say in my own household, we are split because we had a Bronco here for a week. My wife absolutely adored it to the point she was like, when are we getting one? And I followed it up with testing a JL Wrangler for a day and just remembering everything I loved about the OG off-roader that I was like,
to me, there are some standout things on both of those that I could do without. Like the things that they excel at are great. I think. Oh God, the problem is like Scott Brown will kill me if I don't say Wrangler, and Mike Levine would be very upset if I don't say Bronco. Get them both.
There you go. Yes, the perfect 2-car garage, right?
Since I have no intimate relationships with any of these people that I have to worry about, if I had to pick one to be in my driveway, I would want a 2-door Bronco.
Yeah.
I mean, that's truly the thing. I mean, the way that it looks, the wheelbase of it, mm-hmm. The road manners of it. Frankly, road manners of the Bronco are better than the road manners of the Wrangler, 100%. So if you're using it as a daily as well as a fun off-road car, for me it would probably be definitely 2-door Bronco.
Yeah, the anguish.
The steering, dude, is just is so bad.
The anguish in your voice when I asked the question is all the answer you really need as to how great both are. But yes, they both lean towards.
I have the best answer.
Okay.
Defender 90.
Oh, I have yet to sample Defender 90, but the 110, I was wanting to take that one home.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
As long as like my mechanic is not an issue, like as long as the mechanical expense is taken out of the equation.
Right. They do come with that stigma that has only been proven by certain YouTube channels. We'll just leave it at that. All right. Y'all have both competed in off-road rallies. What do you prefer more of? Is it more exciting to drive something fast on-road or something really fun off-road?
Really fun off-road.
Really fast off-road.
Oh. I like how you think there. Which leads perfectly into the next question, which I wasn't going to ask, but now you just set me up for it, Lan. TRX or Raptor?
Oh, okay. I did just do a comparison with Jeff Glucker and the Auto Trader guys. You know, I think until the Raptor gets the Raptor R version, it's a tough comparison for me. I think dynamically that Raptor is just epic. I mean, it's so outstanding. That's not to say that the TRX isn't. The suspension on there is just so dialed in. That's a tough call. That's another tough one for me because, yeah, I mean, I would take the Raptor without that like Mondo huge ass tire package that they have on there. That's just too big. But then a Raptor with a V8. Oh. These are horrible questions.
Really taking her in different directions.
I'm a split decision on that too.
That's all good. Being here in East Texas, they are literally both, like everywhere I look. They are a family rig here in Texas. Yeah. And it's fun to see more stuff like that, which kind of side question for you, Lynn. You probably have more insight than I do. What is General Motors doing? Not throwing a real hat into the game. Like, come on, right?
They're too busy with the Hummer EV,
yeah.
Which I just drove, and I'm not allowed to talk about it yet, but boy, I would have a lot to talk about right now
if you could.
If the embargo had lifted, because that thing that's a whole other conversation.
Yes.
But you know what? I think they're hedging their bets in the electric space. I don't know. You know, listen, I can ask both of you these questions because Sedona and her husband are truck owners too. It's like as a true truck person, you know, I feel like truck owners, there's sort of this badge of honor of 200, 300,000 miles on there. And I'm not sure that an EV is going to be able to have the staying power. So I'm not 100% convinced yet that the true truck owner, like the true truck user, is going to be swayed at this point with the EV truck like bonanza that's happening with Rivian and Hummer and
Silverado,
the Lightning and the Silverado.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. I was this close, like inches close to putting down a deposit on the Silverado EV for our channel and long-term comparison. I'm glad I didn't because my wife and I traveled to the Chicago Auto Show and interviewed Nicole Katz, the lead design engineer, and total awesome experience, but walked away from there and I was like, all right, babe, so like, what do you think? And she's like, she wasn't quite sold on it. So I'm like, whoa, dodged a bullet there.
It's not cooked yet.
Yeah.
They're not cooked yet. Not for the people who are like truck people.
Right.
City truck people, yeah.
So what I think about with that is that EV trucks will be very good for fleet trucks. Yeah. They'd be very good for like around town construction. You know, they still do that, but they've got a while to go. Like you said, cooked. Yeah. They're not cooked.
Not cooked yet. But it's exciting, but still exciting that we get to be here while it's in the oven, right? I mean, we're watching a sea change, and that's like super exciting.
Yeah, none of us were around for the advent of the Model T and how that revolutionized. So it's very interesting to be this invested in the next phase. So yes, very apt way of putting it. All right, this one perhaps won't be as hard a question to answer. New or classic? Ooh, I still got her.
I know, it's like, that's still hard. I believe that they both have their place for specific things. I want to have, I mean, it took me a long time. I think that this is pretty across the board to own your first brand new car, right?
Right.
It takes you a long time. But if you don't have those classics, you never learn how to drive a car the same. You never learn how to fix a car the same. You know, we have a classic Baja Bug, and that's a totally different animal than driving a brand new truck. So they both are fun. I think they both have their place.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I want a new Lotus Emira, and I want an old like Land Cruiser or an old Defender. I want everything.
That is an epic 2-car garage, though. So.
Right?
All right.
I can't wait for that Lotus to come out. Anyway, yes. Okay.
All right.
I think you keep stumping us, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. All right. Well,
ask a car person one or the other.
Right.
They're going to tell you both.
Right.
I want
Right.
both. I have both right now. She has both. We can't decide.
Well, I'll end with 2. No, either or. I will remove the anguish of it and dig in a little more to your psyche. So, favorite driving song or genre or playlist? Going on an epic road trip, what do you got loaded?
For me, it's, 100% like 80s music.
Oh, yeah.
Like when I was a kid, driving for me, I made my mom teach me how to drive when I was 14. I used to sit in the right seat, shifting for her in our Toyota Corolla SR5. And when I was 16, it was the mid to late 80s. I could not get a car fast enough, even though it was a big, huge piece of garbage. And just that sense of like freedom and of like a complete autonomy. And when I listen to any music from the 80s, usually a song like Don Henley's Boys of Summer, big song for me, but like that kind of great, like just happy, fun 80s music all day long.
So, Donna, what about you?
Oh, that's so hard. So mine would be 90s country.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a great one too.
Like my mom was a musician, and she played in dive bars and had a lot of fun, and all that music is very pulls at my heartstrings, and that's the stuff that I know every word, and like while my music taste is very vast,
Right.
that is where I'm like, if I'm gonna be jamming out for a few hours, 90s country.
A little boot scootin' boogie and achy breaky heart.
Yeah, just all of those for sure.
Actually speak to our, so we both, Sedona and I, have very eclectic musical tastes. We also both have, for various reasons, have musical theater background.
Okay.
And both of us, when some of my favorite moments with Sedona, while rallying, usually always on a transit because we're not as like in our head,
Right.
but when we have a little time to sort of take a breather, we turn on the radio and there is a lot of singing.
A lot of singing.
Makes every trip better instantly.
So good.
Oh, I've got one left and just such a long list of, okay. You've already answered that. Sing in the car. Yes.
Oh yeah.
I'll end here. So, we were talking about road trip music. What about road trip snacks?
Oh. So Lynn and I have a very favorite. We had seen this swimming around, and I'm like, this is absolutely yes. Road trip snacks should look like a 9-year-old went into the convenience store and bought everything. Like that's how it should be. And
Yes.
Snacks and food are very dear to our heart.
Yes.
And it sustains us in many ways. But our biggest, we take a fridge with us on the Rebelle because it is so long, and also because we love cheese so much.
Charcuterie is our friend.
We like cheese in the fridge for sure. If we could have a charcuterie board and meat and cheese board for every meal, for sure.
But also in our cubby, in our little we have this in our sort of like center console. You will always find Cheez-Its and you will always find gummy lifesavers.
Awesome. Yeah. So I told y'all before we started recording, I just got back from a 2-week road trip with my wife, my 4-year-old son, and my mother-in-law to Texas, California, and back. We had a minivan, and half of what the back was filled up with was all of the food. So we had everything. We had yogurts. We had a fridge too. So those Sargento cheese snack packs. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
Cheese all the
time. And for your 4-year-old was like, yes, thank you, because snacks are life.
Yes. And we were constantly digging in there for him as well. Absolutely. So he loved it as much as we did.
And, that's so cool.
Yeah. Just making memories, that's what we do.
That's it.
I thank y'all so much for joining us this week on the podcast. I do have a couple more questions for you for our Patreon members who support us behind the paywall, so stick around for that. But to close out this episode, y'all have been involved in Rebel. We've talked about that, and Rally Jamil. How would young women get involved in pursuing similar paths to what y'all have done?
Well, we always say that, like, if you're interested, start doing it, right? Start somewhere. I think the way I went about it, I knew I had to sign up to do the first Rebel, because if I didn't, I would never get started. It's hard for women. I think we want to analyze and know how to win or do something before we do it. And in a situation like this, reaching out, I mean, hopefully we get to put our contact out there so that people that listen to this podcast, if they want information, they can kind of reach out and start that conversation. Do it before you necessarily know how to, because otherwise you'll never do it.
Great advice.
Also, I think as a driver, I mean, and this is what Emily reinforces with us, and this is her philosophy, is you'd be really surprised what the car in your driveway is capable of doing. If you have an all-wheel drive vehicle and you have just sort of a hankering for getting off-road, figure out how that all-wheel drive system works. Figure out what take a look around your car, see where its low points are, see what you think its capabilities are, and then go find some dirt roads, go find some fire roads that are easy to do, and just get out there and start feeling how differently the car handles on dirt, and how it feels to be sort of out without pavement, without freeway, without everything else. And if you like that, then there are off-roading groups that you can become a part of, and they will generally be fairly plugged into to off-road motorsports. And that world is really opening up quite a bit for women, which is very exciting. And so there are avenues that you can take before you make a big leap and have to, pay some money.
Yeah.
But the other side of that coin is there are plenty of people who are interested in sponsorships and who will support and sponsor you. So, Sedona's right on. Just go do it.
Awesome. Well, for our listening guests who this may be their first time ever getting an introduction to either of you fine ladies, where can you be found on the digital world?
Go ahead, Lynn.
Lama ding dongs for me. Really, Instagram is kind of where I live in the social media space. It's LYN and then 2 underscores Woodward. The little icon is a picture of me wearing a straw hat. So there, you can find my videos for Kelley Blue Book on our KBB YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe. I share duties with Mike Amuzio and a guy named Mike Danger, who are both outstanding car reviewers and just all around amazing human beings. And that's me. Oh, and I think Doug and Sedona are going to build out my website at some point this year. So, but that's not out there yet. But that'll be lynnwoodward.com.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. I am also predominantly on Instagram at Sedona Blinson. And you can find our team at team.wild.grace on Instagram and Facebook.
And for your convenience, listeners, I will put links to all that down in the show notes so that you can very easily find them and follow their stories. Thank you both so much for joining me and sharing your adventure. Again, just another conversation that I am incredibly jealous of because it sounded like y'all just had an amazing time.
No.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having us.
All right, there you have it. I told you it was going to be a good episode. We just totally had a blast talking with Lynn and Sedona this week. Sue, thank you so much for setting this up. It was amazing. I do have to say, my wife is in travel and tourism. She's constantly singing the praises of experiencing the world around you for yourself. And I'm getting the impression from talking with Lynn and Sedona that was one of the most epic parts of this trip, was truly getting to see the world through their own eyes and to see and experience the wonder of Saudi Arabia for themselves. Just hearing, how receptive the people were to them as tourists, as participants of this rally. It's amazing. It's heartwarming. It's the feel-good story we need when sometimes the world around us seems to not be so much. So thank you all so much for supporting this podcast. Thank you, Lynn and Sedona, again for coming on. Thank you, Sue, for making this possible. I'll go ahead and say it. Gearheads, you know where to find us. GTGarageTalk.com gives you links to everything, including our YouTube review channel, the news, our Facebook, our Instagram, all of it. Thank you so much. And until next time, bye.